everyone has this ability to be very much in tune with the world, and everyone has this ability to be restored by nature. But I think that many of us are not listening to this very silent internal voice that's telling you, go outside now, go outside now, close your laptop, leave your phone.
You've given more than 1,000 keynotes on digital well-being. Do we live in the matrix?
Yes.
Yes, we're already off to a good
Very,
start.
very straightforward. That is a great question. We live in the matrix, but I think it's not the matrix that Silicon Valley thinks about. There is a very popular narrative now in the Silicon Valley that we really live in the matrix, that kind of like our reality is designed by some kind of somebody, I don't know, like the chief game officer of planet Earth. And they're serious, and I'm seriously speaking about this. There is serious discussion among like very prominent business people there that, like, we have to get out of the matrix. And that's where you have all this, kind of let's go to Mars. And so that's where it stems from. I do think that we live in the matrix, but I think it's slightly different. We are powering the current matrix with our data. So we are essentially working for free days and nights, providing our data to machines. We're not getting compensated for that. I think probably a great example is ChatGPT. That thrives on our data, and people put all sorts of data there, right? Like from private conversations. One of the biggest use cases of ChatGPT is speaking about like the relationships with a partner, with somebody you want to be, who you want to be your partner, uploading WhatsApp conversations, for example. And in that sense, I think, yes, we're totally living in the matrix, because then this data is getting used to target us with advertising, to control us more and more, I think, to control our behavior. Now we're getting also into predicting our desires. Yeah, it used to be that our attention was the main currency. Now we're getting into the economy that's based on predicting our desires, predicting what you may even want to wish. And we're doing it by our own hands.
Wow, that's disturbing.
Yes, and that's also fun. It's a fun time to live in. Because that also gives you lots of, opportunities to understand what it's like to be human, and what you want to keep for yourself versus to give to the machines.
What a reframe. Speak more on that.
Well, I think that's where do I start? So if you look at the design of technology, UX, you've probably heard, the work by Tristan Harris and others from the Silicon Valley who speak about like technologies making us addicted, right? Like this dopamine feedback loops and so. But really, if you look at that, like all the design principles are based on behaviorism. Behaviorism, as psychological school, tells you that humans don't have a soul, humans don't have anything higher than them. And in principle, humans are just animals, and everything they do can be triggered. Yeah, and so they give a response. So this trigger response, yeah, is the essence of behaviorism. Unfortunately, has become the essence also of the design of most modern apps. Yeah, for example, like gamifying things. And by doing that, we're essentially downgrading the human to an animal. Yeah. And I'm not even speaking about the spiritual element here, although that's important. But I think even if you look at this from the neuroscience viewpoint, humans have a very well-developed prefrontal cortex, and that's where we have our willpower mechanisms. That's where we have our ability to plan and achieve long-term goals. That's where we have our high aspirations, our sense of self. Yeah. And essentially, if we direct ourselves by behaviorism, we're denying ourselves that we have all these things, which is very disturbing for me. So that's the first first part of the answer to your question. Um, the second part of the answer to your question is I think we are very much obsessed with the idea. When I say we, I mean like people working in technology, different sides of that. I used to work in technology myself. We are obsessed by the idea that everything can be measured and quantified. And again, going back to the data, right? I'm thinking about the, let's say, wearables, yeah, or sleeping apps. It's actually super difficult to measure sleep because there are so many parameters. But there are sleeping apps that are being presented to you as something that helps you sleep, fall asleep, or know what to do with your sleep. But the truth is, like, for example, when we work with clients at the Quantifying Digital Institute, so they come with this data set and say, oh, like, I've had like 3 hours of REM sleep, therefore I'm good. And the truth is, to get proper REM sleep, you actually need to go through all the previous phases. And then this is what makes you really like, it's create good quality sleep. When you design the app that measures REM sleep and does not take into account everything else that needs to happen, then the number, like the number of minutes that you've had in REM sleep might seem correct, but it does not reflect the reality. And that's a huge problem, right? Because the world is much more complex than any theory that can describe it. And if we're reducing human beings to a number of indicators, and if you're doing an app, or even like if you're doing, let's say, an AI system, generated by any kind of AI, right? You need to use the probabilities, which means like you need to think, okay, look, what's the most likely response? Yeah. Which means that you're living outside so many opportunities, yeah, of like what it means to have a good sleep or what it means, like to be a creative person. You're still following me? Um, which basically, yeah, creates this problem that when we are not like accepting that there is a variety of people, we're not accepting that humans are extremely complex beings. When we think that by measuring one to even 100 numbers, we can describe a human, yeah, we're essentially reducing them. And then we're creating the tools that are reducing them, and then people start behaving as a very reduced versions of themselves. And for me, that's a real problem.
So, kind of paradoxically, we have an opportunity now to reflect further on what it means to be a human.
It is because essentially, let's say the creators of the app unconsciously are saying, hey, being human is whatever, like being productive or like be this and that and that. And you do all that, and like you seem to be, ticking all the boxes, all your numbers, like your health is optimized. And I've seen so many people who, like are so extremely unhappy, although all boxes are ticked. And they're like, okay,
Because
what's
all
wrong?
boxes are ticked.
Yeah, all boxes are ticked, like it's like there is this
Yeah.
perfect thing and and like, and I'm like, and I'm using ChatGPT and I'm building like, I'm 5 times more productive. I'm making so much more money. Like my team is, like on steroids. And I'm not saying everyone is like that, but I see this a lot, like among very successful people that they feel very lost.
Yes.
Um, and what they have to answer themselves is like, okay, what's going on? Very often they say, oh, no, because I haven't optimized myself enough. But I think the answer is at the other end of the spectrum. The answer is being human means being very flawed.
Hmm.
Being human means making lots of mistakes, which we're not allowed to make, like now in the digital space, because everything remains recorded. I think being human is, like trying different things and not always relying, on the past data. Being human for me right now, yeah, maybe it will change in a year, means trying to find your own answers rather than asking ChatGPT, because it's about living your own experience. And I think we will wake up to this realization sooner or later. But it's quite a process.
In this age of exporting our mind, I wonder if the liberal arts education is going to be increasingly valued because it teaches one to think for oneself.
Hell yes. Here I totally disagree with Elon Musk, who says that humanities are useless and like physics is the future. But there is a little problem with it, and the problem is that if you look at what AI is doing to education right now, and I work in education and I teach, and I have grown-up students, so it's slightly different. But I work with schools also. I speak a lot with teachers. And I just see how students are completely incapable of formulating their thoughts, of writing an essay, finishing an essay. And by the way, and I was having this discussion yesterday with somebody very brilliant, like who does thought leadership, and he says, "Look, I find myself being constantly lazy and saying, like to ChatGPT, oh, formulate this for me, formulate that for me." And we already have the research that shows that this does have a cost. So when you're not using your brain, when you're not, teaching yourself to process information at a very deep level, and that's exactly what humanities teach you to do, to see the context and to process information, and like to be able to work with words, deep reading, writing, all these things, super important. If you're just faking it by, like feed into ChatGPT or whoever it is, the topics, if you have clip thinking, which is what most young people have, right? Like they can't stay focused on reading a book 2 3 hours, and that's a real problem. They have completely unlearned the skill. Then the theoretical arts and humanities education is good, but the reality of it, it's preparing right now people who are completely uneducated, completely.
Well, there's this dark irony. Go ahead. Sorry, Dr.
No, no, no,
Anastasia.
no, no. No, I just thought about the example. So I read this study another day. I think it was from MIT. So they did like MRI scans of people who were using ChatGPT, I think, for write essays. And basically, I think after 10 minutes, they couldn't remember a single line of what they have written using ChatGPT. And I can tell you like an episode from my one of my past lives, career lives. I mean, I was a journalist for about 10 years, and that was when you still were doing your own writing and and you worked with a human editor. And I had a hardcore editor, but who taught me a lot. So I would write an article. It would maybe take me like a week. I was working for something like The Economist, kind of covering business. And I would bring this article like a file to him that was saved like on the drive, and he would read it, so very good, and then he would close the file and press a delete button. And that means like the file was not saved, and he would tell me, well, and now go and reproduce whatever you remember. And that came as a shock. And having said that, that was probably one of the best lessons, because when you really remember, and you can reproduce what really matters, and everything else it's garbage. It should go, because your reader should not be reading garbage. If you ask anyone who wrote a ChatGPT article to do that, they will not be able to reproduce that. In fact, like they will hardly be able to reproduce anything what they have written, because the speed and the so-called efficiency comes at the depth of processing. So we literally become people who are just pressing the buttons, but we're not letting things through ourselves. So therefore, again, talking about humanities, and the humanities, you can bring your own perspective into everything, right? When I'm reading, when I'm responding, yeah, I'm giving to you some kind of like all my years of experience into this email, into this post. That doesn't happen if you're using ChatGPT to generate it. That's not to say you shouldn't use ChatGPT to generate texts, but that's that should be very separate type of tasks for which to use it. Just one last example, and I'll let you ask or comment the question to what I'm saying. New York Times has established very strict rules using ChatGPT for its authors. So one of the things they say, like, you're not allowed to create text to generate texts, to generate text ideas. What you can do, for example, is to do the proofreading. And what you can also do is, for example, ask it to review the article once it's finished to challenge yourself, to see there is somewhere whether you can improve it. And that makes sense for me, right? Because you're not outsourcing your brain. Yeah, you're actually keeping it and you're using ChatGPT or whichever digital tool to train yourself. But that's not what I see, at least in the way most humans learn these days, especially young ones who are very overwhelmed.
Has it occurred to you that, ironically, in an age when we have incredible technological advancement, which
Mm.
prior generations could only dream of, and perhaps not even that, we seem to be more and more firmly ensconced in a cultural and intellectual dark age?
Yes.
We're in a new dark age.
Oh yeah, completely. Completely. And the reason is that we think, and again, that comes from this idea that humans are flawed and it's very bad and we need to fix them. And to fix them, then we need to use the machinery or like the technology or the data, which, has become the new god, right? Which we say that, oh, it will solve all our problems. Spoiler, it won't. But of course, some people will make a few billions on this. But no, it won't. The main problem here is that instead of using technology to train our internal abilities, we are outsourcing our internal abilities to technology. And that has started many, many years ago, right? But I think now we're doing it just like to such a degree that it becomes very evident. Probably the easiest example is outsourcing our sense of direction to Google. Yeah. So Google Maps or whatever, Apple Maps, whatever you use. And many people indeed have lost this ability, yeah, to navigate around. Well, guess what? Spatial recognition is actually related to a number of things. It's related to your psychological understanding of yourself. So it's not just to memorizing things. It's related to your relationship with the environment in which you live. So it comes with a cost. But let's say this cost is kind of not so obvious for us. Okay? Then we had social media, which essentially became intermediaries, yeah, between us and other people. So rather than having direct contact or, like even like calling somebody, we were hiding ourselves behind other screens, yeah, writing something, correcting, canceling the person, same thing with online dating, right? You swipe right or left, you don't like somebody, you just cancel. Very easy. And there are quite a few books about it, yeah. Um, I'm trying to remember the name of the lady who's Sherry Turkle. Yeah, Sherry Turkle
Mhm.
has a
Mhm.
few TED, I think at least one TED talk about it and a few books. Yeah, Alone Together, and you can look that up. She describes this brilliantly. Then we had wearables, where technology essentially tells you outsource your interoception. So interoception, I don't know if you've heard of that. That's our internal ability for the viewers to recognize signals from your body. Yeah, so your heart is beating. Is it beating faster or slower? Yeah, that gives your brain, your insula, some kind of information. Like, are you hungry? Are you not? Do you feel cold? Do you feel hot? Yeah, all this information gets aggregated. Am I thirsty or not? Do I want to sleep or not? And sent to insula. Insula works like puts together this information, sends it back to the organ. So that's how your body knows what to do, essentially. And interoception is super important because people with high level of interoception, so with the ability to read body signals and correctly interpret them, they actually have better mental health, better physical health, better relationships. Just again, like that's all research based. What we're doing now, we are outsourcing this interoception to our watches, to other wearables, right? Um, so they tell us, oh, you should go to sleep now. Not because I feel sleepy, because it tells me. It tells me, oh, you should go and do 10,000 steps, which is, by the way, completely arbitrary metrics. And maybe on that day, I don't need to do 10,000 steps. Actually, what my body really needs is a good stretch. Yeah. But we don't listen to our bodies. It tells me, oh, you're nervous. You should stop and breathe. It tells you, oh, you should drink. Usually, like by the age of 3, more or less, children know if they should drink or not, right? So that's infantilizing us again, yeah, because we're outsourcing this ability. And now we have the new wave outsourcing with generative AI, right? So what people do, people outsource their decision making to a big time. Yeah, they're asking for all sorts of decisions. Should I stay with my boyfriend, with my girlfriend, or not? Yeah, should I buy this flat or not? So it's not just how do I? Yeah, there is lots of moral outsourcing happening. Again, if you look at the use cases, which used to sit with us, with humans. And then, of course, the question is, okay, so like if technology is doing all these things, so what's left for you? And who are you being? And that's, yeah, that's a very dangerous territory to enter into, especially if we're speaking about the younger generation, because I do have experience. You probably do have experience of living without technology to such a degree, and we probably, I mean, probably struggle a little bit, but we would probably still be able to do it without it. But for younger people, again, like if you listen, for example, to Sam Altman, when he speaks about how like 13, 15-year-olds use ChatGPT, they pretty much use it for everything. They ask it, what should I have for breakfast? Like where should I go with my friends? So they're not making their own decisions. They don't have experience of making their own decisions and taking full responsibility for that. And that creates a generation that is very easily manageable, very easily.
It's going to be a
Sorry, I'm
destruction
being
of a
very gloomy
generation.
here.
Well, and that raises the question: is there hope? I mean, it seems to me that there's going to be a destruction of at least a generation.
Oh, there is always hope, but I think what I see there is a very big split happening in society. Well, there are two splits. One is there is definitely a counter movement. So you can see lots of, for example, people now willing to get together, willing to meet strangers, willing to help each other meet without phones. Like they're like clubs popping up, like when people just get together, pay even for their phones being locked, like digital detox retreats. That's all happening, yoga, like all of this, like connection. Um, and that's a natural thing, and it will be happening because there is something internally calling people for it. Lots of people being interested in kind of dancing, body work. Lots of people getting into spirituality in one shape or another. I'm not saying whether it's good or not, but like this is definitely like the pendulum also, trying to swing. Neither of the extremes is good. We want to be somewhere in the middle, but we're right here, like with technology. But like we can see already that's happening. This will be made mainstream in 3, 5 years for sure. Like so, kind of like the unplugged experiences. So that's hope. But it also means, right, like so. Going forward, I think we will. I'm giving more like 8, 10 years. I think this will be more of a dilemma. I think we will have two groups of people. I think we will have people who want to get upgraded with technology, who will feel that, like their capabilities are so much bigger that they prefer, to have. I mean, we already have technology with us most of the time. I don't know if we will be speaking about like installing like a chip into your brain or, something like that. But let's say like who will be completely like relying on technology to do everything. Uh, and and probably with very upgraded qualities, physical qualities as well. But I would ask, what will be happening to their levels of happiness, and if you believe in God, like with their soul. That's a different discussion. And I think there will be another group that will be very much like, let's return to the basics, pro nature, kind of like connections and so. And I think they will be going more and more extreme. So there will be like, I mean, I don't know if they're going to have wars, but like I think that's really going to be the big split between these two groups. Um, Second split, I see more and more split between the wealthy and the poor, where the wealthy would have advantage of human contact. I mean, it's kind of already happening. Like if you're a wealthy person, you have a private banker, you call to the bank, they pick up the phone. You don't have to jump, like through the hoops of like autoresponders and freak out because they don't recognize your accent. And I think more and more we see, for example, in developing countries and poor families that phones, iPads are being used as nannies. Devices are becoming increasingly
Mm.
accessible. Lots of cheap content. Medicine will be generally app-based for these people. And I think for wealthy people, like they will still have human doctors, human teachers, human nurses, human everything. And they will have an option like to have technological ones, but I think human will be like privilege. And again, see, and that's like what I economically see, and like if you look at the statistics as well, middle class is disappearing. So there will be lots of like, automated solutions for the poor, cheap and kind of like standardized, and very, exclusive for the rich. And because also technology is creating the kind of economy where middle class is losing its income, and we're going for the Uberization of economy. So you don't have lots of like predictable jobs, even before the AI, right? And the AI is taking away lots of like middle class jobs as well. And then you will have the wealth being concentrated in the hands of a few that are controlling this technology, because we're building all the ecosystem around technology. And yeah, my concern is there is nothing in the middle. And, from any kind of social economical theories, we know that when there is nothing in the middle, it's a very dangerous place to live in because the social unrest is very real. And that will be my kind of next forecast, but we're speaking 15, 20 years from now. Yeah. Plus all the fun with climate. So is there hope? Yes. Is there hope on the central level? No. I think the hope comes from grassroots. I think the hope comes from local communities building local trust, because I think like on the global level there is lots of mistrust. I think there is lots of governments show their complete inability to manage the technological shifts and not let them affect negatively the social shifts. It's, it's embarrassing what's happening everywhere in the world. I mean, even the European Union, that has introduced the EU Act, the AI Act. They're now like trying to withdraw it, and there was something, that was supposed to somehow safeguard people. It's not happening anymore.
What is that?
Oh, okay. So EU was the first, well, country, like organ. How do you say this? Like entity to introduce legislation about artificial intelligence called the AI Act. That it was discussed for a few years. There were like a lot of experts involved in it. It was supposed to set the standards for which AI systems can be used and cannot be used. And they categorized AI systems into three groups. So those who were safe to use, those that could be used with caution, and those that were not allowed to use on the territory of EU, and you couldn't sell it. So one of those, for example, were automated weapons, like AI-powered weapons. They were saying, no, you can't do that. And now they're basically pausing it and saying, yes, but it will kill the competition. You will remain behind. Which for me is very dangerous, because that means that if this really goes this way, then we have absolutely no control and mechanisms for what's happening. And when you have private companies and not like, open code or, like not universities behind AI development. You cannot expect that they will be acting in the interest of the society. You can expect they will be acting in the interest of maximizing their returns. But my point is the governments are not coping with their responsibilities. Yeah, whether it's for the lack of understanding what's happening, whether it's for the nature of just they're naturally slow. You obviously cannot rely on big tech to police itself. So for me, like the hope, where I see the hope and where I see lots of growth is like on the local areas. Local administration, local communities, people getting together. And by the way, I've seen, for example, in France, there is this app that's becoming increasingly popular where people are just exchanging skills. So let's say, like, I don't know, like I need to put up the shelf. I write it on the app and say, can somebody come and help me with that? They do come free of charge. And next time I can come and help somebody else. So lots of these things are happening everywhere in the world, right? Sometimes technology powered, sometimes not. And I think for me, this is a sign of big hope that, like inherently, we have these things built in us. Yeah. And like when we're just in the face of challenges, like, or like when we have a little bit of an opportunity to clear up our minds and we default to, to what it means to be humans. It's collaboration, kindness to other people, connection to nature, understanding the impact on the environment, responsibility for it as well. I don't know, maybe I'm being idealistic.
As you're talking, I've thought more than once, you should write a book about this. And in
Yes,
fact, you have.
I agree. I agree. Well, I've
So,
written one book 10 years ago about digital well-being, so it doesn't say anything about AI. But the book actually talks about how we are outsourcing, yeah, our abilities, what it leads to. So I think AI is a natural extension. So the second book was in the making, yes. Don't know when, but yes.
so what are you offer some other tools like a digital well-being course, digital detox? That's something I'm very fascinated by.
Mhm.
So can you walk us through what you teach people to help them?
Yeah, so what I do, I train the trainer. So I'm director of Conscious Digital Institute, which offers 1 year certification in digital well-being. It's a program accredited by two major coaching associations, ICF and National Board for Health and Wellness Coaching. And essentially, it's a program that helps people who want to work with others around their digital habits. So maybe with organizations, with schools, with parents. So it can be psychologists, can be trainers, consultants, developers who want to create ethical tech products, for example. So we go for neuroscience, so for our digital habits. So we see like what's happening with the brain. We also look at specific like tools, behavioral change tools that you can help people with, because the point is we all know what's happening, but we don't 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 change anything, right? So it's useless just to tell people that's what you should do or that's what you shouldn't do, right? So you need to give them tools to be able to change their behavior. And it's very difficult to do when you work in the environment or live in the environment where technology is being pushed at you. Yeah, most of the time. So that's one thing I do. Second thing I do public speaking. So I sometimes I speak at conferences. Sometimes work with, for example, tech companies because their staff tends to be very overwhelmed digitally. Uh, Work a lot with HRs. Digital detox. I sometimes do digital, like once a year we do digital detox retreats, but it's just for our students. It's for fun. But also it's a great space like to process new information, to build connections, and it's a lovely annual tradition that we have. But our graduates, we have a number of graduates. For example, we have one in Italy, Gavino, who does. He has set up a digital detox business. So he does retreats both for families. That's actually becoming a big thing. So bringing together, unplugging both parents and children, and letting them speak to each other, but also for the groups, for the corporates. So that's he has done a very successful business, and we have a number of people like around the world who do that. So if anyone is interested, you can reach out or like just check on our website, consciously-digital.com. We have like coaches, and then there is a list of what they do, so you can find somebody who does something interesting in your area. And what else? Yes, and we have like a short course just for people who are not sure if they want to do certification, but it's for anyone called 5-Day Attention Detox Challenge. So the next one will be, unless we do it earlier, but I think for next one it's scheduled for January 2026. And that basically allows you to review like what's taking away your attention over 5 days, understand, the mechanisms behind it, and yep, introduce some neuroscience-based practices to manage it. One of them should work.
So, for the Virtuous Leaders audience listening to this, what are the top 3 tips you can offer for well being in the digital age?
How hardcore do you want me to go?
As hardcore as you can. These people can take it. They're my
Uh,
listeners.
I mean, it depends. I would say start from removing your phone from your bedroom if you still have it there. It's gonna make tremendous difference to at what time you fall asleep, because when we have our phones, we tend to delay the sleep. And also that means you won't be checking your phone first thing in the morning, which means that your cortisol's level won't be going up, which means that, like you're a bit more naturally waking up. And then the first thing to do in the morning is to drink water and to go outside for 10-15 minutes for the natural sunlight. And that's your best way to wake up. And then you can do whatever you want with your phone. Easier said than done, but will already generate lots of energy for you. Second thing, stop eating in front of your screens. Just prohibit yourself from doing this. Because again, it affects the digestion. I usually start, all my tips start from the restoring the contact with the body, because the contact with the body gives you more energy. Because when you're living in your head, like you're constantly behaving as a brain on the stick, working on your computer, the body tells you what you need to do. And so if you start restoring contact with your body, it will start telling you, oh no, you know what, like now actually it's time like to unplug and go breathe and do something. Yeah, so sleep, food, and the third thing, start introducing some kind of 5 minutes per day exercises. Any kind of exercises, I don't know, like I'm giving like to my students, they have like weekly challenges. So the current challenge, and they will be doing it for 3 months, is to be doing, oh gosh, so there are two things. Like there is like one exercise called angel wings, when you're just standing against the wall and you're doing this, and that's for everyone who's working in front of the screens and does that. Yeah, so 10, 20,
So
30.
back to the wall.
Yeah, back to the wall thing. And the second thing that they do is squats. And squats, you do like your hold. See, I don't have a door handle, but you hold to the door handle and you sit like just normal holding to the door handle. You don't have to sit very deep, a little bit. Why this to exercise? Because this last one that was used actually by the Soviet scientists to help the cosmonauts coming back from their space trips, restore the blood circulation, because and that's one of the things that is suffering in our bodies a lot when we're sitting for long hours in front of the screens. Yeah, so heart is not the only kind of muscle in the body that pumps blood. Legs are super important. Yeah, so if you can start introducing this, do 10 in the morning, and then maybe once or twice 10 of this when you're, I don't know, I've been sitting for hours in front of your screen. The main thing to understand is while all these things seem very small, when you accumulate them is what's going to lead to the change. Yeah. What I told you is going to increase the level of your energy. Yeah. I cannot give you bigger things because you won't have the energy to implement this. Yes. So my task, if I were starting to work with anyone, like with especially like very managed by their devices, is like to create a bit of extra energy because devices do eat up energy, and working with the body does that. Yeah. So again, I repeat, no phones in the bedroom, not checking them first thing in the morning, going outside for 5, 10, 15 minutes for a natural light, then do whatever. Phones outside the bedroom, so you go to bed earlier, proper sleep. Yeah. Second thing, eating out like away from your phones, whatever it is, because it helps your digestion. Get more nutrients. So again, this creates the energy. And third thing, squats and this. Yeah. After about 2, 3 weeks, you already start noticing the difference, and that's why you can introduce any change you want, but you will have more energy and more willpower to sustain them. Yeah, whether it's going to be like limiting how many tabs you open, or I don't know, like getting rid of your smartphone, whatever, whatever you think you would like to do. I don't think, by the way, everyone needs to do that. It's just gives your brain a little bit more energy to see what's actually happening. Yeah, but when we are at a very low level of energy, you can't expect people to make changes.
Hmm.
Yeah, so the first thing is to create this energy.
Okay, final question, Dr. Anastasia. So I have to ask you, you, you speak with astonishing clarity and what's the word here? You have a very unique perspective.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I could have gone this like each idea that you gave could have been its own podcast episode. Uh, so, but what I'm wondering in the background is where what motivates you? Where are you getting these ideas from, and uh, to what extent does spiritual realities motivate you in your work?
It's a good question. I wanted to joke that it's I pick them up from ChatGPT. No, I don't know. It's kind of um, I've always been good. My background is, and I mean, I have a eclectic background. My first career was in music, and then I was a journalist for many years. And I think the skill that I learned in journalism is being able to see the bigger picture. And I've always been very good with that. So I can get multiple data points and I can tell a story around it. So I think what you're asking me is when I read, single facts, when I speak to people, I have this ability to synthesize it into some kind, oh, that's what's going on. I don't know whether it's spiritual or not. I think it's just like the natural and also like experience of synthesizing information quite well. Um, in terms of spiritual dimensions, I'm Christian Orthodox. I'm not a practicing one, but that's part of my culture, and I'm very connected to nature. Um, very connected as like I feel natural rhythms. I naturally wake up with sunlight, whether I want it or not. Which means like late night parties, unfortunately, are not often an option, even if I want to. Um, I I don't even know what that is. I think I have a certain synchronicity with the world outside me, and it's always been the case. You can also call it spiritual. I call it more like integrated. I think I'm more integrated into like what's happening around, and I'm just picking up on lots of things that I sense and feel. Um, and yeah, and with that in mind, I think probably spiritual practice is what. And I have my own like routines, but I think what it helps me is just like to keep this vision more or less clean and clear. Yeah, because I know that, for example, when I'm spending long hours in front of my laptop, and I do for work, then this vision gets blurred a little bit. Yeah, so for me, the way to do that is to go like on a 4 or 5 hour walk by myself, not with my earphones on. Just walking and being in nature by myself. And then I get immense clarity. In fact, like one of my most clear periods was when I did Camino de Santiago, St. Jacob's Way. You know, it's like the pilgrimage route that you have in Spain that leads to Santiago de Compostela, where allegedly the remains of St. Jacob's are.
James.
Uh, say, oh, St. James.
Hmm.
Sorry.
No, no problem.
Sorry. Yeah, it's Santiago. Okay, St. James. Yeah, because I will say this in the Spanish way. Say yeah. So where the remains of Saint James are, and I didn't do it for spiritual reasons, but I think like, the benefits I got from it were very spiritual. Anyway, like there was lots of clarity around what's happening. Uh, by the way, I don't think that that's something exclusive to me. I think that everyone has this ability to be very much in tune with the world, and like what's everyone has this ability to be restored by nature, but I think that many of us are not listening to this very silent internal voice that's telling you like, go outside now, go outside now, close your laptop, leave your phone, because we're telling ourselves stories, right? We have started to believe stories. Um, so I think you don't even need to teach people this. You just need to, clear away the garbage. Uh, a little bit. That's what I try to do in my work as well.
Well, it's been an amazing conversation. Keep up the good work, Anastasia.